that don't want what we know out there.
How a person can go from really almost nothing to becoming a millionaire by owning rental properties.
He would always buy these flip houses, and I just remember thinking, this guy is crazy. Why would he buy that house?
In the past decade, there's been a huge surge in the peer-to-peer short-term rental market.
Become an insider. So you have to know the rules before you get the game.
Every second counts. So make every second count.
Welcome to the Real Estate Jam. Whether you're just beginning or the best of the best, we're glad you're here. We will share successes, failures, and strategies for the action-taking real estate investor. And now to your hosts, JD, Annabel, and Melissa.
Hey guys, welcome to the Real Estate Jam podcast. I'm JD with my wonderful co-host, Melissa.
Hello, hello.
And we have a super awesome guest today. I want to introduce you to Stinson Bland. He is a real estate investor that's been in the game for quite a while. I think he said since 2009. He operates Waco First Home Buyers and used to be a part of the Homevestor organization. And I'm sure we'll get into that. Stinson, thank you so much for finding time to meet with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. But we've known each other for what, maybe 2.5, 3 months now. So this is exciting for me.
Yes, it's awesome. But that's a long time.
Yeah, in the real estate world, that's a long time.
In the current real estate world, it's definitely a long time.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Stinson, I'm sure there's some people in our network that know who you are and what you're about. But for those that don't, can you kind of give us your backstory a little bit and tell us where you're at now, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a long story, but I'll make it short. So my background is I grew into a space of doing digital marketing back in the mid 2000s, like 2005, 6, 7. I actually have some of my original Google books on my bookshelf over here. I was doing pay-per-click advertising before it was as easy as it is now. You actually had to read books and learn how to do it. And I was doing it for the financial market. So I was helping small cap companies in New York find accredited investors through pay-per-click. As you know, anytime you deal with people in New York, there's a lot of money involved. I was in my 20s. Things were going really well. 2008, the crash happened. My business evaporated overnight. I was living well beyond my means. High-rise apartment in downtown, 2 cars I was leasing. I mean, just all the dumb shit dumb stuff you could imagine. I was doing it, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what. I had some cash saved up, but my income was gone. Called one of my good friends that was actually here in Waco that was doing really good. I mean, he was growing. He's 1 year older than me. He was growing at a fantastic rate. And he said, hey, you should really get into real estate. I think this big drop is going to be a big opportunity. So I admired Shane and listened to Shane. So I followed his advice, started researching it, and then ended up finding Homevestors through a guy named Mike Hambright. Homevestors is a franchise. I didn't know anything about buying houses, so I bought a franchise. I had never even bought a house. I bought a franchise.
For people that don't know, that's the We Buy Houses guys, right?
The We Buy Ugly Houses, the caveman. Yeah, sorry. That's a franchise model. It's a business in a box. So I had no experience with real estate. Somebody I admired told me I should get into it. I started researching it. I found a local mentor. It was a guy named Mike. Mike was selling franchises. I bought a franchise. He became my mentor inside that franchise. I did really well. I think I did 14 deals that first year. This is in 2010. I bought the franchise in late 09.
Wait, Stinson, what's that in a box mean?
In a box, I mean, it's everything. So when I bought the franchise, it was a CRM, it was training, it was lending, it was all the paperwork, it was everything that you needed to stand up the business. To take it as far as you wanted to. If you wanted a storefront with billboards, everything's in a box. You just kind of went down the menu and bought what you want.
Okay, got it.
So that first year I did 14 deals, which was pretty good back then. I mean, it was my first year, and I assigned everything to Mike. I was just wholesaling and turning things pretty quickly. After about 2 years of doing that, I realized that the franchise system was not very good because I was paying fees on my advertising. I was paying fees on my transactions. I was paying fees to my mentor, and the margins were just getting eaten away, and my cost per lead was going up as they were selling more franchises. So then I went out on my own. I sold out. I bought out of the franchise. I didn't sell out. I bought out of the franchise.
What does that mean? What do you mean you bought out?
I was a franchise. I had a 5-year agreement. To get out of it, I had to pay them a substantial amount of money to get out of it, but it was an easy thing to do. I mean, the truth is when we looked at the books, it was the cost of 3 or 4 deals, not the cost of the deals, but the cost that the fees I was paying them. 3 or 4 deals would pay for me to get out of the franchise, which essentially allowed me to do what I wanted. In the franchise, you couldn't do any marketing on your own. You had to go through what was called the ad council for your local market, and they dictated how the money was spent. And so if the 3 of us were in a franchise, if we all spent $1,000, we'd all get 1 lead every time they came in. If I spent $2,000 and JD spent $1,000 and Melissa spent $1,000, I'd get 2, 1, 1. So it's a round robin, which was fair. But what ended up happening is there's about 30 franchises in total in Dallas. There's 4 of us that started growing our budget. And what happened is we started competing with our checkbooks. And I was spending $16,000, $20,000 a month. And so somebody else would come in and match you or beat you. And then what we did is we cannibalized ourselves. So when I started, our leads were about $90 a lead, which sounds amazing in today's dollars, right?
Yeah.
And when I left, yeah, it sounds great, right? Like 90 all day. But when I bought out, we were paying about $600 a lead. And this is in 2012, 13. So it was a really, really high cost per lead. Right. And then we started operating on our own outside the franchise. And then kind of got into other things in the industry. I did some coaching for a while, some mastermind work, and now I'm focused specifically on buying houses. And to back up a little bit, I was in Dallas. I relocated to Waco and started buying down here in Waco in November of 2019, right before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Perfect timing.
Was that a personal choice based off of that's where you guys wanted to live, or did you target that market specifically because it's a good real estate market? What was the driving factors on that?
That's a great question. So Shane, the guy that told me to get into real estate, is from here. My best friend is a cardiologist here. He moved here. So I had some really, really heavy hitters on the financial side. Waco, according to a lot of reports, is one of the fastest growing cities in the country per capita, right? There's the Chip and Joanne effect, which is happening, which is absolutely ridiculous, but it's a true thing. I mean, we just talked about a couple deals before the call, and it's those are the people that are buying it. When somebody's paying over market value and paying cash, you know they're from out of state and they're in love with the Chip and Joanne.
Do you pay them a marketing fee? That's the question.
I think the whole town pays them a marketing fee. Basically, it's our taxes going up, right? That's all the complaints around here. But the truth is that Waco got on my radar about 4 or 5 years ago when my best friend moved down here to start his practice about 6 years ago. And I started noticing, I wish I'd done it then, I'm late now, but there's a lot of opportunity for houses. Back then were like 30 to 50,000. Now they're like 50 to 80, but make great rentals and owner financing and things like that. So right now I'm flipping primarily, but that's not what I enjoy doing. I mean, it's a fun way to make money, but ultimately we're after cash flow. So rentals and owner financing is our ultimate goal.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's, I guess, and that's kind of the same story for us. Is we want every property we look at, we want it as a rental, and that's really where we're trying to put everything. But some of them just don't make sense, and so that's where we got into the wholesaling and flipping part of it. I assume you guys have your contractor team and all of that kind of stuff figured out, so you can turn those pretty effectively. Where are you getting your leads for these now? What are you doing?
Yeah, so that's kind of why I started with saying my background's in marketing. Marketing is what I enjoy. That's what I think I'm best at. Planning the marketing, not executing, right? I'm not the best implementer. I'm a high level thinker. I'm a visionary at the highest level. Like it hurts me. But right now, direct mail is our number one lead source. We're huge into stacking data. We've talked about this before. We're stacking over 20 different motivation lists, and coming up with a scoring system on top of the property. So in our two counties, we have every property. We have the data for every property, equity, age of owner, years of ownership, all that kind of high level data. Then we stack 20 plus motivated seller lists, water shut off, evictions, which aren't happening, tax delinquent, code violations, arrest, probate, estate sales, water shut off, all these different lists. We gather all that data, stack it up. We score all the properties based on equity, zip code, years of ownership, and then combine that and are very aggressive in our direct mail. On top of direct mail, we are still doing some texting. I'm actually meeting with my VA tomorrow. I think that's going to come to an end. It's not producing for us at all. I dabbled in some cold calling. I didn't like that. It's too invasive for me. I basically, my theory on everything, and I don't judge anybody for this, but the way I look at it is, would I put my grandfather into the funnel? He's the most important person in my life. And I know that he gets all these calls all the time. I'm like, well, I can't be the guy doing that. And my neighbors, they know I'm in real estate. They're like, can you take me off your list? I'm like, you're not on my list, I swear. But so direct mail is huge for us. We spend a substantial amount in pay-per-click. And as we were talking about earlier, we just started retargeting through Facebook.
I have a quick question. Sorry. I know you briefly went over the stacking, but this has become a huge topic in our industry where it's talked about a lot. And I see it talked about a lot on Facebook too. And I don't know if everybody gets what you're saying when you say that. You went over it super fast. So if you could just break that down just a little bit.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I use a software that a friend of mine developed. It's called 80/20 REI. It's a CRM. It's a data management. It's texting all built into one. I only use it for texting, which again, we're about to stop, and data management. So basically the way the CRM works is you can upload all the data that we have. So for example, we have every property, commercial or residential, in these two counties. And then you create a buy box, which scores the properties based on kind of the criteria. Is it a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, lot size had different grades, age of ownership have different grades, all that. So that's how we score each property. When we stack data, we're finding these different lists. So for example, water shutoff is one of our highest performing lists. And the reason being is that if somebody can't afford to pay their water bill, if they can't afford to wash their hands or feet or get drinking water, there's probably a lot of financial pressure. So we find all these different lists and then we stack them. And what that means is that we're uploading them into our database. And then we're looking, each one of those lists is basically identifying a pain point, right? So if a property has 50% equity, they've owned it for 20 years, the owner's 55 and plus, the owner is absentee, the water was shut off because the tenant didn't pay the bill, and the eviction process has started. We see that court filing, the eviction process. Those lists, that water shut off and that eviction notice are two stacks that we put on that list. So that would pop up in our system because they're showing up on 2 or more pain or distress lists. So what we're doing is we take all of our data and the properties with the highest amount of distress lists, of all those 20, if they have 10 of them on them, I'm personally going to cold call that person, right? Like I don't cold call anybody, but that's like low hanging fruit. I've never seen that. But as the number of lists that they show up on decreases, we're less aggressive in our marketing.
Okay.
So for example, some of the higher, 4 or 5 distressed list properties, they get mail every 3 weeks versus somebody that's only on two lists, they get mail every 6 weeks. So we're trying to drive our marketing based off of what their motivation, what the data tells us their motivation is.
What do you think about that, JD?
No, I think it's genius. And what you're doing is you're cutting down your marketing costs to people who are never going to sell their house anyway. If you just mail to every single high equity house in your market, you're mailing to a lot of people, but there's only a certain few that happen to be, you wouldn't know it at the time, but they'll happen to be on that divorce less water shut off, whatever other distress. And so that shotgun approach, you're wasting so much money on those houses of people that are never ever going to sell because there's no distress, and maybe they just love the property. But the more motivated your list, the better your results are going to tend to be.
My granddad's a perfect example. He's 74. So he shows up on that list. He has 100% equity, so he shows up on that list. That's a list that a lot of like beginners they grab the 55 plus high equity list, right? Well, my neighbors are another perfect example. They're on a fixed income. He's in his forever house and he's living his best life. He has no interest. I think he paid like $17,000 for his house. It's worth almost 200 grand now. He has no interest with his fixed income and where his friends and family has no interest in selling, but he would show up on the general high equity 55 plus list. Right. So, but now if my grandfather's water was cut off, or if he was arrested, or, if something major happened, if probate was filed, boom, that would pop up and give us an indicator that a life-changing event was happening. That's what we're looking for.
That's super genius.
I didn't come up with it, so I'm trying to implement it. But the truth is the first time I ever heard anybody talk about that, it's the guys that created 80/20, Jesus and Felipe. They're really smart data guys, and they changed my whole outlook on real estate investing. And their pitch, and I agree with it and have repeated it a bunch, is that the most powerful companies in the world right now are data driven. Think of Google, Apple, Amazon, Facebook. It's all data driven. So why, if we're trying to build real empires or real businesses, why wouldn't we take a lesson from the big dogs and run our business in that way? So
and they were talking yesterday about Zillow and Showtime. Is it Showtime or Showing app?
Yeah.
One bought the other, and it was all just about the data, just to control the data.
Yeah.
So interesting. I didn't hear about this.
Yeah, it was the Showing app. I have it on my phone from when I show properties. I can't think of what the name is, but one bought the other.
Yeah, Zillow bought.
I bet it was Zillow buying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Showing Time. That's what it's called. Showing Time. Yeah. So you're exactly. That's what everybody's thinking for sure, but. That just made so much sense, just because I'm not going to mail to those people like your next door neighbor. I'm not going to spend money cold calling or texting them.
Yeah, Melissa, I just Googled Showing Time. I'm not an agent, so I don't know about this. And just on Google, this first sentence is serving more than 950,000 agents. Like that is a ton of data right there, right? Like there's a ton of data.
Right.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is awesome. So you're using these tactics and techniques, and even though you have this list stacking stuff, that doesn't always mean you're finding deals. We were speaking a little bit beforehand about the current situation. Do you mind going into that a little bit, Stinson?
Absolutely, and JD, as I told you, I have no problem being vulnerable. I personally believe that our ability to be vulnerable will help us. One, get better advice and solve problems and relieve a little pressure. And I know I feel under a lot of pressure, and I talk to a lot of investors all over the country, and most people are feeling the same way. Yes. We were consistently buying about a house a week, late last year into early this year. And there was 1 month where we hit 7 houses. We've outperformed that. I thought I had it made in the shade. About 6 weeks ago was the last time we had a house under contract. We're still getting a lot of leads coming in. Mm-hmm. We're still talking to a lot of people. We're still going out and making offers. We're going on at least 1 appointment a day, sometimes 2. We're still trying to buy virtually and talk to people on the phone. We're talking to a lot of people. But in my market, and I know for the country entirely, there's a shortage of inventory. It's not just on the investor side, it's on the retail side. Melissa, you're an agent. I mean, you have to see it, right?
Yep, we do, for sure. Yep.
And that's what's happening for me. I mean, I don't know exactly what triggered it 6 weeks ago, but I talked to a couple of wholesalers around here. I'm like, hey, I need inventory because I need to keep my crews busy. I only have 2 rehabs going right now. None of the wholesalers have houses. Nobody has houses.
Yep.
My partner owns a brokerage. All his realtors are starving. Everybody, it's just this weird thing. Nobody can get evicted. Nobody can get foreclosed on. People are scared to move. The prices have jumped up so much now. If they sell, they don't know where they can go. So there's just this weird thing going on in the market. It's mentally crippling me right now because it's been 6 weeks since I contracted a house,
Yep. Well, and what you said, that one part at the end was really good, because that's exactly what I'm hearing on the phone is, I'd love to sell my house right now because the market's so hot, but where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? because I can't afford another house, because another house is going to be even more. Mm-hmm. So that's exactly true. And even here, the rentals, they can't build them fast enough here because there's so much.
Same thing here in town. I mean, we can buy vacant lots, but we can't sell them because the price of building right now is outperforming the price of real estate. It's incredible.
Yes.
There's only one builder I know in town that's building like first time home buyer style houses, and he's able to make it work. Everybody else has stopped.
Yeah.
Now, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 houses, they're being built.
Yeah.
But that kind of, in my market, that 150 to 200,000, there's only one guy I know doing that.
Wow.
Yeah,
and that's the price of materials.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I was looking at. I had a picture on my phone from Home Depot in
I saw that
of OSB in 1947, and then right now it's like 37.94, something like that. Crazy for one single sheet of decking, I guess. It's crazy. And I think, obviously part of that's the pandemic and part of that is like we were talking about, the people not wanting to sell because they don't know where they would go. I can't, help but think like, is this the way people felt in 2006, 2007, as the market was climbing? I'd really like to get a hold of some of the investors that were working back then and say, hey, does any of this seem familiar? I know that the circumstances are different. Banks are still a lot more cautious with who they're lending money to, but I feel a little bit uneasy in the market as it sits right now.
Yeah.
JD, I'll tell you two things. So for the last 3, maybe 4 years now, I've been saying, hey, a market correction's coming, right? And I'll be right one day. You know what I'm saying? But I really think it was like 2017 when I started saying it. I'm like, hey, it has to slow down. It has to slow down. And I feel like a fool because I was so focused on my coaching business that I wasn't buying houses. I was waiting for the market correction, and I started buying houses again at the damn peak, right? But luckily we're being really, really cautious. I mean, we're not buying very many rentals, and we're doing only really quick flips and not at one point in time, about 2 months ago, we had about 7 properties in inventory, and my partner and I both agreed, hey, we're stopping. We got to get rid of our inventory. It was over $1 million inventory. We have to clear that out. And that's kind of, I actually just put this together. That's right around the time that we quit buying houses, because I went fully on dispo mode, right? Mm-hmm. I actually just put that together. That's kind of funny to see, but yeah, I guess my pipeline kind of dried out then. And now the market's just changed so much. I mean, like I was saying earlier, that there's the cover of the paper here locally is talking about there's no properties available on our local inventory, on our local MLS. There's only 81 active properties as of Monday in the entire city. And those properties have like 300 days on market because they're trash.
Right. And overpriced. Yeah. That's do you think you're experiencing, I guess it's the slinky effect, because you went into your dispo mode fully, so you slacked off on making your follow-up calls and all that stuff? You think that's kind of what you got going on right now?
I think a big thing that changed, I mean, I'm not making excuses. I mean, ultimately it's my problem and my fault. I run a small business. There's 3 of us, 2 of which are virtual. I think the biggest change that happened is, one, I started focusing more on getting rid of properties. And I just kind of had that epiphany now. It's like, oh, that's actually right around when this problem started. But 2 is I've made it where I'm not on the phone as much, and I've kind of handed that off to my virtual staff. And I believe that me not being on the front end of the calls has a huge, huge effect. And the fact that a lot of people call when I was taking the calls and say, hey, I want to be removed off your list. And I would have a way to talk them through that and then find out they have property for sale, but the virtual staff doesn't do that, right? They just say, okay, well, what's your address?
Yep.
So I think that's a big problem. And there's just a lot of competition right now. I mean, we're going out. Last week, we probably went on 8 or 9 Yeah, we went on 9 appointments last week. These are qualified. I'm not wasting my time going to anybody. And we didn't buy a house. And it's the expectations of the sellers are so high right now. We got Zillow telling them their house is worth twice as much as their tax value. You know, the neighbor said they sold their house for 180, but he's a liar. He sold it for 110, and I prove it to him. Right. You know, it's just this weird thing going on. So ultimately, at the end of the day, it's my fault. We have to find better qualified leads and build better relationships and make better offers. I'm getting more aggressive in our offers. I need inventory to keep my crews busy. And we just talked about this before the call. The offer I wrote this just before the call, I can't believe I wrote those numbers, but I know I'll be safe with it as long as something doesn't change in the next 60 days, I'll be fine. Right. But it's crazy to see the numbers I'm starting to write. And a lot of people feel that way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, JD and I have talked about that too, about, you know, when we're on the calls, there's a huge conversion rate when it's JD and I on the calls. But I mean, what do? You can't do everything. You know, you can't be on the calls all the time. It's just not, it's just so limiting.
Yeah. At the end of the day, that's really not it's weird to say because it does bring in a lot of revenue, but it's our responsibility to find somebody and train somebody for that skill set. That's a pretty low dollar paying job. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, it's basically a secretary or a leads manager. I mean, I would love to find somebody that was hardworking, that would work for $15 an hour, that was trainable, right? Yeah. But that's on me. I have to go find that person. They should be out there, and I have to figure out how to train them and motivate them and keep myself motivated too, right?
Yeah, no, it's super, super hard for sure. But we totally agree. Our conversion rate to appointments is like 99% when it's JD and I doing it. Yeah, and I don't know what you would put the percentage. The girls work hard. They do work hard, but
I think the biggest thing for me and what we're kind of learning in the direction we're going is we're letting them take a lot of the I don't know, I don't want to say riffraff, but we're letting them get through, 100 hangups or wrong numbers, and then pushing the semi-qualified leads or over to us, and we're doing it, letting them do the people who've ghosted us until we can reestablish those conversations, and then me and Melissa are taking over from there. And that seems to save us some time. But it's probably still not as effective as we want it to be.
And then, of course,
go ahead.
Sorry. Then we of course have a lot of side bets going on, which keep us super motivated.
We do. We have a bet book that we'll take bets on. Okay, well, how much is this property going to go under contract for? Which person's going to get the first over the phone lead? Out of or over the phone close from the VAs, that kind of stuff. So it keeps everything. It keeps us engaged and motivated.
Yes.
It's funny. Going back to what you were saying about y'all's virtual staff taking the calls. I've been thinking about this a lot this week because I can say this. I'm letting go my leads manager. Her phone skills aren't, the conversations are brutal for me to listen to. I mean, it's painful. And she's in the Philippines. She's smart. She's a good girl. I think nothing bad about her. She's just not good on the phone. I think that's a culture thing. I really do. They don't know how to riff-raff or banter or like sarcasm just hits them right in the face. They don't catch it, and so I was thinking about this week, and I talked to my wife about it, is I've always been against scripts because I want them to have a conversation and build a relationship. But what I was thinking about this week was saying, forget it. Just admit that you're overseas. Admit that you're not on my staff. You're just an assistant there to take the call and ask 3 questions, and then I'll call back. And essentially is because we do a lot of mail, we get a lot of hate call, right? Mm-hmm. It's just insane the type of calls we get from the mail. It's insane. It drives me crazy. But essentially, I just want somebody to filter out that hate call, right? And then give me the people that say, yes, I want to sell. And yes, I'm looking to sell in the next 3 to 6 months. So I've always been against scripts because as a salesperson, I think that they're garbage. But if I could convince myself that it's okay for my other VA, who's even worse on the phone, to say, hey, my name's Edwin. I'm not here I can't answer any of your questions. He's out looking at properties right now. I have 3 quick questions for you. Are you willing to answer those questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that. I do like that.
We had to take it because what we wanted was a virtual assistant that could be a cold caller and a lead manager and find this person that fit this perfect thing. Somebody that was like me or like Melissa, which we could be multifaceted. What we found is we could not find that person. So our cold callers, they literally go off of the script and try to stick to that. There is, we're training them a little bit to kind of get them to if you say, yes, the property's rented, and then they don't follow up with, well, how much is that property rented for? That's a missed opportunity. So we're trying to teach that, but they stick with this very simple script, and then they push that over to the CRM. And then our next virtual assistant picks that up as our lead manager. And she's the one deep diving, trying to find motivation, see if this really is a lead or if they just want to get an offer, and then once we've identified some level of motivation, some level of timeline, and that it's a prop, if the Zillow value is $20,000 and they're asking 500, then we know that there's probably a big difference there. And Zillow's pretty accurate in our market as long as you stay away from the bay, away from the beach. Then Zillow's pretty on point. But they qualify them just that much, and then endorse it to me and Melissa, and then we'll go in and call it. Or if we call them and they're not ready now, then we push it back down to the lead manager. But we really realized that we couldn't have one person doing all of that because the skill sets are just too different. And then that on top of the cultural differences, because our VAs are in the Philippines as well, that we really needed to train 2 different people to do 2 specific tasks.
But Stinson, we had that issue. We went through a lot of people trying to find the right people, but we had that same issue where the humor part, they didn't get that at all. So that was like a prerequisite when we started interviewing people that, JD would say all of his inappropriate type comments and stuff and see if they got it. And if they did, then that pushed him to the top,
Right.
So if they could get his humor and they laughed, then I knew they could fit anybody. Yeah. Yeah.
JD or Melissa, either of you guys, I'm curious on the leads manager, are they using a script to qualify, or are they just?
JD does heavy training with them.
Yeah.
We were not happy with any of the people we did individually. We went to Rocket Station, and of course Rocket Station has that little price point you have to get over, but it was the best money that we spent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Rivas, which is the same thing. They're actually arch rivals, but it's the same.
Yeah.
And then they provide a manager who helps us manage. And so that's been huge.
We don't use an exact script, but I start them out with, hey, this is a script. I want you to focus on the direction the conversation goes, not the word by word listing. And then we also push them on a lot of John Martinez videos and try to get them to understand the underlying concepts, not just the how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, that kind of stuff. I want them to understand.
Kill me.
Yes, exactly. And more of a bullet point, we start with, hey, can you tell me about your situation? What do you want to have happen? If we can make that happen, how do you want to proceed? And then kind of, we have our motivation questions and stuff that they kind of unravel as the conversation goes. That
was great, JD. I know you just threw it out there, but what's your situation? How do you want it to, what do you want to happen? And if we can make that, how do you want to proceed? That's as simplified as you need. Like if they can't understand that's saying something. So.
Yeah, we really want them to focus on keeping it conversational. And really what we heard at that last meetup in Florida from Mike Cowper was, I want you to make them your friend. And then once they're your friend and we know that they're ready to sell, then we want that elevated. And we haven't mastered that yet, but that's kind of the direction.
Yeah. But we plug that every day. Make them your friend. Make them your friend. Yeah.
Do you guys actually meet with your VA every day?
Every single day.
For how long?
Time.
We start at 9 every day. It's just they know, and they like that structure. And then we'll like check on calls throughout the day if we see calls coming in that are over like 4 minutes. And then if there's a teaching session that needs to be, JD will get them to jump back on. They'll listen to the call, all of them, and then we'll talk about what was, you got to make sure that you talk about the good stuff. But then we're
sandwich.
Yeah, go over. He was like. The good bad sandwich. What is it, JD?
It's the good bad good sandwich, and a lot of it I use from my supervisory experience in the Air Force, and the way that we really want them to feel like they're part of a team. We don't call them VAs; they're our team members.
I remember you saying that. Yep.
We have our 9 o'clock meeting. It's usually 15 or 20 minutes, but if it needs to go a little bit longer, we usually have that. We have open communication with Slack. If they have any problems, we jump back on the call. And when I'm critiquing, what I try to do, because there's always a good thing, even if it's, hey, thank you for showing up on time today. Let's listen to this call. But so we go, good. Here's this good thing that you're doing. Here's this thing that is not bad. You're not a bad person, but we want to correct this so that we're better as a team. So we can make money. You can make money. We're all happy. And then here's another good thing that you did. And that kind of keeps the, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult because we're in a hurry and we're busy, but their feelings matter, and directly contribute to their work productivity.
Yes.
So it's in our best interest to keep them motivated, elevated. I never talk to them from like a negative Nancy type. Oh, everything sucks. Everything's always upbeat and positive. And then they, when I come on in the morning, hey guys, how's it going? How was your weekend or whatever? My positive attitude.
I need to jump on those calls, man, because the last 6 months have gotten me beat down.
No, they're really good calls. They're good, and they really like that. I can tell they love being engaged like that, and it makes them feel good.
Yeah,
and not only that, I mean, I don't know how often you. Every time I Zoom with my VAs or my team members, I get really sad. Like they're in these like little closets. I mean, it's basically like this wide, and it's dark. And I don't get sad. It's just I feel bad for them. Like it's the middle of the night. They have this redneck calling, cussing about me taking a picture in front of their house, which I never took. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we've had that one before too. Yeah,
that's a daily occurrence for us.
That's hilarious.
Even if you look at the bottom of the picture, it says this picture was taken from Google Images.
Yes, my card even says. I don't have it here. It even says we did not take this picture in big bold red, like. Because
that one guy who said, "Are you in front of my house right now?" No. Haven't even been there, seen it. No.
Yeah, we're in front of your house, and you already printed it and put it in your mailbox.
Yes. Well, I was going to follow up with something about the girls. Oh, and so that team mentality is such a deal changer for us. And then they wanted to implement special Spirit Week. So we had to wear green shirts on Friday. And so, it's just whatever.
That?
Huh?
Is that something? Is that a cultural thing?
No, it was Spirit Week, like homecoming week or something at your high school, right? Where one day's pajama days, one day's crazy hat day. Well, this last Friday was our green shirt day. So we all wore green shirts because one of the girls, wanted to do something that build camaraderie. So it doesn't hurt us to put on a green shirt.
I wear a green shirt almost every day. I'm wearing a green shirt today.
Yeah, exactly.
Except we had to jump on a call later with them for some correction, and JD had his shirt off because he wasn't a team player.
Busted.
I know.
It was a seafoam green shirt. It looked very dainty. Matter of fact, it had pink letters, and Melissa said that when we're done with the green shirt day, because I had to go out and buy a green shirt, Melissa said she wanted it, so I'm going to give it back to her. It wasn't very flattering, and I had to go out into public, so I took it off, and then I forgot to put it back on.
I mean, it sounds like a pretty good strategy of having.
But this is Stinson. This is through 2.5 long years of lots of people that we finally figured it out and got this part right.
Right.
So
the VA thing is tough. I I'm letting go of one and they want to replace her with another one. And I'm really I'm going to give it a try because they basically give me an offer I can't refuse. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I think that I have an office. I'm at my home office. Now I have an office and I never go there. I go there like twice a week, maybe once a week. And I think just having somebody beside me all day so I can hear the phone calls, they can hear my phone calls, and the ability to say, hey, I'm trying to figure this out. I've tried this 100 times with Edwin. Hey, I'm trying to figure this out. Like I need to get water shut off from Bell County. And he's just I've showed him how he can do it for Waco County, for McLennan County, because I've built a system, right? So he can repeat that process. But to get him to go problem solve is impossible. Yeah. So it's like, I just need somebody that is around me all day, gives me energy, gives me a reason to be fired up, gives me a reason to be in the office every day, and has somebody that I can collaborate with and actually understands what we're doing. It's not the virtual staff's fault that they don't understand. They're in a closet in the Philippines and just do what we ask them to do. You know?
Yeah. No, you're right. And I think that part's huge. I think that's why hold on. Don't say anything. This is what I held up today because I think being partners is really important. It says 13 because that's how many days left till JD comes back. So
it is. And a lot of those needs that Stinson's talking about, we drive from each other.
Yeah.
And so that kind of does take that place. But we even so, we do look to have somebody in the office. What's the point of paying a few $1,000s a month for an office if we're not going to fill it with people who can help us on the things like just go check the mail or take the trash out from time to time. Even those little things allow me and Melissa to focus on our high dollar skills or tasks and not having to worry about it. That peace of mind is super beneficial.
I would love for somebody to fix my printer problems at my office.
No, exactly. All of that stuff, all of those little things, if you wrote them down, all the stuff that you did that you shouldn't be doing that are even, minimum wage, but really below minimum wage. And we should be working on the business.
Yep.
And they're just time killers, which is money. So totally agree. Yeah, that should be something for you to definitely get. You need somebody there.
I know.
Even if it's just to tell you good morning and make sure that I don't know that you're eating lunch, because that's Melissa's biggest problem. She'll go all day without eating lunch, and I have to remind her.
That's a big problem for me too. I call her my wife. She's my fiance. She hates that. I'll come home. I'll be gone all day. She's like, "Do you eat lunch?" I'm like, "No, I do not."
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's difficult. It's difficult when you're in the mindset.
But I did have 4 cups of coffee, so.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, Stinson, I don't want to. I know we've gone a little bit long. I don't want to take too much of your time, man. I think you provide a lot of value and a lot of realism that a lot of other investors kind of shy away from. So we really do appreciate that.
Yeah. And the stacking thing. The stacking thing's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this: I'm not affiliated with 80/20 REI at all, or this other company I'm going to mention, but. There's a company called REI Sift. It's a lot more simple than 80/20 REI. And
we're friends with Zach.
The guy's name's Tyler, I think.
Yeah.
But if you look it up, REI Sift is a lot simpler, and it's a good way to start. And batch lead stacker is another one. There's a lot of these different softwares, but REI Sift, I like it. If you want to learn about it, he has like $100 or $200 2-week training that I went through just because I wanted to see. He's a smart guy. I wanted to see what he was talking about.
Yeah.
I did 2 hours a day. Great way to learn about stacking. Great way. And
perfect.
It's 2 hours a day. It's $200 for 2 weeks or something like that. I'm not at all affiliated with it.
We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We had already talked about it last night. In fact.
The REI Sift thing?
Yeah. The classes. Yep. To understand that, because it's something that we're lacking in our business for sure. Something.
Yeah. The auto lead generation challenge. I did it. It's literally, I was getting up at 5:30 in the morning so I could do it before my day. I was doing yesterday's videos today, every day, and getting up on Saturday just so I could get it done. But the guy's smart. He's super smart.
Yeah. Yep. He is.
Well,
thank you.
Where can people find out more about you?
Facebook or Instagram. My name is pretty unique. It's Stinson Bland. There's not another one out there. I don't believe. If there are, I want to meet them. But yeah, I mean, if I can help in any way, I mean, that's kind of one of the things I journal about every day. I write it down every day, is that I'm a giver and I seek opportunities to help others. I live by that. I mean that. It's part of my core values. And if there's any way I can help somebody, I'm happy to answer your questions and, be respectful of my time, and I'll try to add as much value as I can.
Well, if you'd like to come out here, you can office with us, and we'll
keep you pepped up.
You guys in Vegas, though, right?
We're not sure if we're going to be able to make it yet.
Okay. But I won't tell anybody.
Yeah, nobody.
We didn't meet our goals. We had goals to be able to go, and
now we have consequences.
That's fair. That's fair.
So,
well, guys, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. It was awesome.
And,
thank you guys. Y'all have a good day.
You too.
Talking to you again. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Jam. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information, check out our website, therealestatejam.com, or find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Real Estate Jam. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us an email at therealestatejam@gmail.com. See you next episode.